welcome to Pod 22, another episode. I'm here with Mike Petrakis from BACH. How's it going, man?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, cool. How's it going? How's your day going so far?
Great day. Just went for a swim and just happy to be here on the podcast.
Nice. What was the temperature of the water? Just out of curiosity.
Warm, man. I'm just thankful to be in Miami. It's the new tech hub.
Okay, that's cool. I went running today and it was like minus 10 Celsius, so it's not the same reality.
Good
But
for you
that's
now.
cool. And you're in Miami. Actually, that wasn't a later question, but I'll ask it now. You're in Miami because you guys just started an accelerator program. Is that correct?
So that's in Stanford. It's a remote program. My
Okay.
partner and I happen to be based in Miami right now
Okay.
because it's warm and it's just we have some friends down here, so we figured if we're hiding out somewhere, it's not a bad place to be.
That's cool. That's really cool. Speaking of places, where did you grow up?
Grew up outside Philly, so grew up in the burbs and yeah, little town called Phoenixville,
Okay.
about 30, 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
Okay. That's cool. And I think, in our previous conversations, you and I had talked about this, but you had a love for the outdoors growing up. Do you mind, telling us a bit more about that?
Sure. I mean, I was like a 90s kid, dude. I mean, growing up watching Nickelodeon, playing outside, playing sports, and running around. So definitely grew up familiar with the outdoors, and it's kind of led to a lot of my further like additional passions in life.
That's cool. You talking about running, you competed in track and field in college, right? Or in high school and college?
Both. Yeah. So I grew up playing all sorts of sports. The common theme was that I was fast, and I just kind of took that into, I actually ran the mile in eighth grade, and I ran like 5 minutes flat. And I was like, okay, cool. You have some potential with this sport. And
Wow.
then, it led into running in high school, and then I set some school records. I got recruited to Richmond for it. And yeah, it was kind of a great that it taught me a lot in terms of life lessons in terms of like learning the dedication of the sport and the determination and kind of grit that it takes to be a good runner. It's a tough sport, man.
Yeah, it is. It is also it's not just a tough sport. It's one where I was reading that there's just incredible amount of injuries from people who think they know how to run and they run at a bad pace or other things like that, and they just get joint pain and stuff. So it can be you know it can be very good for you, but it can also be unforgiving. And so this sort of track and field landed you at Richmond. What did you study in college?
I studied entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Yeah, so startups through and through. I think what started it was that I had an injury my sophomore year that took me out of running. I broke my neck in a snowboarding accident, and I was home while all my friends were partying. And that kind of led me to say, hey, startups are really cool. I read a bunch of books, like Tim Ferriss books back in the day. This is in like 2011, 2012, when
Hmm.
entrepreneurship was like becoming more of a thing on college campuses. And I just I knew that I wanted to kind of leave a stamp on my life, and I could do that through startups. So I really just ran with that from pretty early age.
That's cool. That's really really cool. And while in college, did you like join any sort of at McGill, where I went to a university, there's like an entrepreneurship cup. It's called the Dobson Cup. Did you any like sort of outside extracurricular entrepreneurship like activities or competitions?
I started a little clothing brand. I did artist representation. I like was really interested in the local like scene at the University of Richmond more than I was on the actual campus itself, because I felt like I just liked getting outside and seeing like what the retail scene looked like. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was more like involved with trying to do my own thing and test different projects out when I was in school.
Yeah, that's a very entrepreneur answer. And that accident that you just spoke about, that's I've the biggest accident I've had is like I've like sprained my ankle. Like, but what's breaking a neck? That's it does
Stuff.
have an effect. Yeah,
Yeah,
it does. It's
yeah. I
tough,
got
right?
full
And
wings though right now, so I'm feeling good. And
yeah,
yeah, it really took me out. I was out of school for like a year. I had to learn how to walk again. It was like my parents took care of me. My mom was the best with kind of like literally like feeding me. And I was in a wheelchair. I had to go to school at Villanova and St. Joe's, and all the kids would look at me funny and be like, is that kid okay? And fortunately, within like 6 months, I had a full recovery, learned how to walk, like could exercise, and I'm 100% good to go now.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's cool, and that's we'll talk about a little bit about like surfing in particular because I really enjoy what you told me in the past about like how you sort of turned that around and really like started doing more activities in a different way. But let's go back to the business and the career. After you leave college, I think you start at Boast, which is an apparel
Mhm.
company. Do you want to tell us a little bit how you landed that job and what were was your role there?
I started as an intern, and I told them that I would do a college or a campus ambassador program. So my first job was literally traveling across the country from Florida all the way up to Massachusetts, hosting parties and hosting events. It was so crazy. Like I just went around with a GoPro and hosted like events to promote this brand on college campuses. And just to back up for a second, Boast is this tennis apparel brand from the 70s that we relaunched. And it's known for having this Japanese maple leaf that looks like a pot leaf
Yeah,
that
people
like
think
we
it's
just
pop.
ran with. So it
Yeah.
was kind of interesting. It resonated well with like all these country clubs that knew it from the 70s and 80s, but also with this like urban streetwear community. So when we put it on college campuses and I threw a couple of discounts and gave people some free gear, they loved it because they were like, oh, cool, like pot brand or like a polo with the pot leaf on it.
Yeah, and it looks
So,
good. It looks good. It looks like you're wearing a rich polo brand, right? So
yeah,
it's got
exactly. It was like
class,
really
right?
nice
It's not,
material.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. It was a lot of fun. That was my first kind of project with them, and then I evolved to just running all the marketing and sales for the brand. And we sold to over 300 country clubs and had a good retail presence. Opened up a store in Connecticut and in New York. Yeah, it was really cool experience to be like 22 to 24 years old, first gig out of college.
Yeah, that's really cool, and it kind of reminds me of the story of Bumble. You know how she like just literally started the same way across like college
Exactly.
campuses to like like create this brand that nobody was aware. Um, why did you ever do you know why they chose that Japanese maple leaf as a logo? Is
I
that
think
information
because
you could
of
share?
I think because of the kind of like ironic, kind of like irreverent attitude behind the brand.
Okay.
You had like John McEnroe wearing this brand back in the day, and like Borg, and like a bunch of like really famous tennis players. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, but hopefully other happy people because he's like the angriest person on the world. Yeah, but that's really cool, man. And beyond that, that's that first internship role. I think you kind of grew the brand by
Yeah,
I think you mentioned the flagship stores that were added.
yeah,
Did you guys do any work with social media? It's at the same time that like Facebook, these other
totally.
platforms start growing up. What did you guys do with regards to that?
Yeah, so the role evolved to being a little more sophisticated with running marketing and sales from being an intern,
Yeah.
and it just became a game of customer acquisition cost to LTV and getting kind of like a good grip on how to run an e-commerce business like marketing machine. And
Right.
I found that really interesting because I was early stages of Facebook ads and Google ads back then, and you could have like really low CPMs to reach a lot of people for not a lot of money back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it was still very innovative in the way, and like we're 10. It feels weird that it's like not even 10 years from now or like ago, but it was still very novel. Um,
Right.
Now I really want to talk about Bachelorette, but I it's not your first startup. I think after you leave Boast, you head to it. You started your first startup basically.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what was that and what you did? And I think it's from the same industry, correct?
Yeah, so I just understood e-commerce businesses at that time because it's pretty simple. It's like revenue over expenses. Then if you could project out your COGS and like your production purchases, like it became something where, okay, if you get this on enough people and you make good products and they like it, then you could have like a nice cash generating machine.
Mm-hmm.
So those businesses made a lot of sense to me, but I was the first hire at Boast. And I wanted to really start something and be a founder of something. So I joined a guy named Terry White to build Wolico from the ground up. I was the co-founder and COO, and we had a lot of fun. It was just bootstrapped. I joined right after he launched a successful Kickstarter campaign. He raised like, I don't know, $125,000, asking for like 20,000 at the time. So we kind of knew it had legs, and it was just simple. It was compression shorts with pockets in them. Like, and as a runner, I was like, okay, cool, I get it. Like, that's very straightforward, but nice product, made in the USA, decent margins. So yeah, I just jumped in and built it with him from the ground up.
That's very interesting. I know you weren't participating in it because you just mentioned it, but the Kickstarter campaign, did you like? My question is, I've spoken to people who've had successful crowdfunding campaigns and unsuccessful, and what they tell me is it's like you're running for office. It's like a full time like. Where are you going to get the votes for today type of thing? And did your business partner Terry share that sort of like story to you?
I think it's just like a virality thing. Like, you literally have to exhaust your network and pass that link to every single person you've ever met in your life, and every forum, and then every Reddit thread, and every social media thread, and that's how you launch a successful Kickstarter. Yeah. And then from there, it's like there's been some really interesting businesses that have come across like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and it's a great way to start by crowdfunding something because you save the equity up front.
Mm-hmm. That's true, and you still you remain bootstrapped for all intents and purposes, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we did. I mean, we essentially tried to revenue fund the business. So that was, I learned all the kind of basics of an apparel business at Boast, and then Wolico was scrappy. It was just like we had to hustle to make it work, and we ended up, it was like 80% e-commerce, and then 20% we sold to retail stores such as like Equinox, and we got it in like 30 or 40 locations across the country. So we were just really scrappy with how we built that business and tried to revenue fund it. And it's grown consistently year over year. And the business is still doing well and moving in the right direction. I just actually talked to Terry a couple of days ago.
Cool. Well, it's cool that you kept contact. And do you feel like your experience at Boast before kind of paid out at Wolico in a certain way? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was like kind of, all right, here's the basics. And then Wolico was kind of startup 101.
Yeah.
And then that kind of prepared me and made me antsy to build something explosive, which led me to Batch,
Cool. Yeah. I do know. And we're going to talk about Batch. So many questions. But like the last little Wolico question I kind of have is, there's no, I don't believe, was Shopify, did you guys use a Shopify thing? Like what was the key to getting these things in the e-commerce? Cause it's a tough field. What did you guys do that like kept you growing and that you're proud of like in terms of successes?
Yeah. It was a Shopify platform, which is great. Shopify is an incredible tool. And like, I know you like it because it's a Canadian business.
I like it because I like Tobias, I suppose. Yeah.
It's really interesting because a lot of marketplace businesses have like risen up in the past couple of years that are just modeling after Shopify. Because Shopify even has these little plug-in apps. Like if you want to leave ratings and reviews, you have a company called Yotpo, stuff like that, where like those are big businesses themselves, and they just feed off of this beast that is Shopify.
Yeah. No, I agree, but there is a downside to it. There's like those people, I forget the actual term of the industry for it, but they just like create fake Shopify accounts and buy like stuff on Alibaba, get it shipped, and then resell it as like an incredible product. And so that like kind of you got lots of that, right? These like So there is a downside to it, but I'm at the same time I'm glad that like so many entrepreneur journeys are created because of it. Great. So let's table that. Talk about the Batch. Man, a lot of questions, but I think my first question is, I think you met your business partner, Greg, before in your previous jobs. So let's just talk about like how you met Greg first, and then we'll get into the Batch. How did that happen?
That's how I met my boy. I'm going to call him Cowboy Greg from now on. So I met him on a customer service call at Boast. He calls in and he's like, I just happened to pick up the customer service phone that day. And I was like, hello, this is Boast. How may I help you? And he's like, I can't tell if I'm a small or a medium belt size. Which one am I? I'm like, I don't know, man. I have no idea who you are, but like, what's your waist size? So he's like a 32, I think, at the time. And I was like, probably a medium, I think. You're safe with that. And then we started talking. I was like, where am I shipping this thing? He's like, new agency. And I was like, oh, cool. That they do artist representation. I was familiar because I kind of like knew about them from college. Mm-hmm. And, we hit it off because I was like, look, I'm trying to get this brand on a couple of artists, like musicians. It'd be really cool. Can you help me with that? He's like, I got you covered. Let's meet up for lunch. We had lunch in Midtown in Manhattan. And we just hit it off from there. And we ended up becoming good friends, and our friends became friends. And we had this little like kind of hub of startup friends, like back in New York when we were young, like in our early 20s, and just kind of stayed in touch from there. And he actually he was like the first or second hire at Blade, which recently announced that they're going to have an IPO. So I went like really scrappy and small with these apparel businesses. And he just kind of like took in this crazy role at Blade. And, we just had these like different experiences, but both like really good for us, because for me, I'm like really operational and like lean and mean is my mindset. And then he's really good with bringing resources into the table. He's like the best salesman you've ever met. And it kind of fit with his ego at Blade, or his role at Blade, ethos at Blade. And I think that it just combined to make this powerful combination of, hey, you can bring resources in, I can help put them to work. So we might have a startup on our hands if we come up with the right idea.
Yeah, that's so cool, because a lot of people, it's the idea that leads you to the partner, but in your case, it was the partner.
Kind of new. Yeah, I was like, it'd be fun to build a business with that guy.
Yeah, you got the partner. Now you're like, I need the idea. And so that leads right into my next question. Where did the idea for the batch come in?
Yeah, so lead investor brought me the idea a couple years ago when I was starting to look around, because I was thinking about, all right, I want to build something explosive. I was talking to family and friends and my advisors and stuff like that. And he's like, hey, Mike, you should really think about this. And the thing that I loved about it was you could go after everybody who's ever marked themselves as engaged on Facebook. Like if you had an app that could plan and book a bachelorette party from start to finish, then it's really easy to market something online, because it's easy to target them. And the US market opportunity, when we did the math, was like crazy. It was like an $11 billion market opportunity in the US. So I just put like the investor hat on, and I was like, oh, wow, this could be something really, really interesting. Yeah. So from there, it was about kind of putting together the right team and MVP. So I called up Greg, and I was like, Greg, I got something cool. We should meet. So we had brunch in, on some weekend in Williamsburg, and kind of talked about this idea and fleshed it out a little bit. And I was like, will you build this with me? And he was like, yeah, I'm all in. This sounds really fun, because it's like, yes, market opportunity, like all the boxes are checked. Like you had, ability to scale, hasn't been done before. No technology is addressing it. But I think the thing that he was thinking about was, damn, this is fun. I'm going to work with nightclubs and restaurants and hotels and houses,
talk to everybody.
Yeah. So that's what I think was going through his head. And then I was thinking like, man, this is a cool opportunity to build something really big. And that's how it started.
Yeah. And it was smart. It was really smart to just think about, relationship status on Facebook, engaged, like there you go. And you had already your sort of knowledge of the Facebook marketplace from your previous apparel gigs. And so like before launch, how many users did you guys have like, what was your go-to strategy basically when you had your MVP?
Yeah. So first off, I came from the apparel e-commerce background, so I needed help. Greg had app experience from Blade, and then he helped bring on some contracted product manager support, and then we outsourced our development team. So it was really just about like building a good MVP, but at the same time building up a big wait list, because we read some article that Robinhood had this explosive wait list. Like they let them in the app and it went crazy. The best thing that our wait list did, besides build us early traction, was we would survey them. We built this 50,000 person wait list, and we would ask them, what tools do you want to see? And they are the ones that came up with invite your friends, chat, poll, put an itinerary together, split up expenses. Like they dictated the product roadmap for us. And then we just built our product as they told us to.
That's you just like you gathered that data so quickly, and so like it was really the users, the end users talking to you. It was just like what Survey Monkey, like you just sent it with like a couple of questions you guys had thought through, and then boom, 50,000. I think that's what you mentioned, 50,000 signups
Yeah.
for the thing. Wow,
The
that's
cheat
really
code
cool.
is use Typeform. I love Typeform. It's all branded and you can do a really good job with getting information. But we got like, that was when we knew we had something interesting because we got so many crazy responses. Like people were sharing all sorts of information with us that we couldn't believe. And we were like, wow, okay, cool. Like they're telling us our product roadmap. They're sharing all their secrets of their bachelorette parties with us.
Hmm.
So we kind of knew that we had something based off the product roadmap, but also that there was real opportunity there.
Yeah, and there's another thing that we talked about this. It's something that I know for a fact, and I found it interesting that you guys did it because it just didn't seem apparent in the market. But the fact is that 86. I think a partner of ours shared me a stat and said 86% of travelers, they want to know things around the area they're going, and so you guys just literally like you have that idea and then you like put it with a bachelorette planning app, and then you have a
Yeah,
city-centric thing with
yeah,
everything. And
yeah,
this was really cool. Like what you guys didn't have any background in tourism. What like you guys were like, oh, let's go by cities. First of all, which cities did you choose and why? And what was going through your process of like, oh, we should do it city-centric?
yeah. So we both been on bachelor parties, and we both knew that there were some things that went amazingly well, and then some where we're like, oh man, we could have planned that a little better.
Mm,
So that kind of helped us figure out like what were the major pain points in terms of group dynamics, because it really comes down to like different personalities and trying to get people to agree on where they want to go, what they want to do, how much money
expectations.
they should spend on things. So that was one side of it. The other, when it comes to the marketplace, how we monetize our app, it was about finding the best experiences and the best houses that we could possibly offer throughout the country. And there was no technology that was creating experience, like a place to just book experiences. You got Airbnb experiences, but those are like private little tours. And then you have
Mm-hmm.
Viator and Fair Harbor. But
Yeah.
when you thought about Hunky Tonk Party Express, like our top seller in Nashville, it's a great small business, and he's on his own website, and he's not marketing that outside of his own business, like his own site.
Mm-hmm.
So our opportunity was to just highlight all these great businesses throughout the country and just put them in one place on our app.
Yeah. And so, and this comes back to your cowboy Greg. I think you told me he was the one who just called all these people and just
Exactly.
basically did the process and then brought them onto the platform, because you guys you couldn't, there was no API, just you had to like get these people, validate that this is really something that bachelorette parties would want, and then you had to get them into the batch ecosystem. That's cool. How many calls did Greg do?
I'm sure thousands. I
Okay,
mean,
yes.
over the course of the past like 2 years or so, like
Yeah.
thousands, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny because if you catch him at the wrong time, he'll just be like so exhausted. But he doesn't sleep much, and he
Hmm.
just calls vendors and like opens up new business. But the value prop is that we'll drive your marketing engine for you. So
Mm.
you can stop worrying. Eventually, if we build up the demand for you, then we'll book you months out, and you don't need to worry about marketing your own website. We'll take care of this.
Yeah, you'll do all of it for them. Yeah.
So we just pass business to these guys. So that became kind of the strategy behind it. But we launched with 3 cities, with Nashville, Vegas, Miami in January, and
Hmm.
then we'll get into the pandemic and stuff. But it really just gave us opportunity to just go nuts with building out our marketplace. Now we have 14 cities represented throughout the U.S., and we've seen some crazy dynamics that have kind of come up over the past year. But yeah, we have now like 1,500 different experiences.
Wow. Wow, that's really cool. And what's the sign up? How long does it take them to like sort of sign up on your platform, if they come in and just to sort of be live as a suggested experience in these cities?
I would say, I mean, he would say no way, but I'll say 10 minutes because it should get to a point where it's automated. Like if they fill out a type form, like inquiring to become a vendor, and they go through an approval process, it usually takes a phone call, but eventually we're trying to automate that onboarding flow so that whatever information they input can then be reflected and like approved on our back end. So we're just loading up new vendors on our back end constantly. But you also have bookable and non-bookable experiences. So if you're in Montreal and you want to go to that like big park to play spike ball, that's a good example.
Yeah.
What's the park next to McGill?
Well, there's Mount Royal Park is the biggest park. It's like it's the one that's made by was built by or designed rather by the architect who did the Central Park in New York, a homestead. Yeah. So I would imagine Gemmel's Park, thereabouts there, where they have the tam tams and stuff.
I went there on a bachelor party and we played spike ball for 6 hours.
Yeah, it's a very big spike ball community. My friend Alex, he's probably not listening, but he actually broke his ankle playing spike ball. So beware, it can be very dangerous.
It's a great batch activity. It's an example of a non-bookable activity, but very fun. It's easy to spend a day hanging out with your friends, drinking beers on a beautiful day outside, playing spike ball.
Yeah, and that whole like hanging out at the park is a very Montreal thing. It's a very cool Montreal summer thing. And then you can drink in the park as long as you have food, and it's like a social setting and you're not too loud. It's like actually legal. So I'm glad you did that, man. I didn't even know. Okay, that made me really happy to hear that. We're gonna go to the more gruesome pictures. You guys launch in January. The pandemic starts coming in February, March. I remember we all we're work from home. We had like a big Friday, and then we all started working from home. What did you guys experience at
what were those dates where you started? Do you remember?
I think it was mid-March. Now that I tried to remember, I can't really remember the exact dates, but it was mid-March thereabouts.
Yeah. So I went for a surf trip in Puerto Rico in late January for a weekend. And I remember like flying back, and when we got back, we saw like people in face masks in JFK, and we were just like, what is going on? That's so bizarre. And we like ran by with our shirts on because we didn't know what to do at the time. And then, and then our office was in Soho. I mean, really Chinatown, if we're being honest. And everybody started wearing masks for the next like month. And so we saw this coming slowly, and we were advising our team, like, guys, it's going down. We're going to have to work remotely for a while. And like the business repercussions, we knew were going to suck, but we thought it would be like 2 weeks, Like, we did not think it would go on for as long as it has. But what happened was in like, I think March 12th, my fiance and I drove back to Philadelphia. And that's kind of when we knew it was real, because we were like, I don't know when the next time we're going back to New York is, And from there, so the first 60 days when we were live, we shot up to 140,000 users in our app. We were number 52 in the App Store. We were on fire. We were like, we're unstoppable. We just closed our seed round at the time. And then March happened, and we were home for, we kind of just like buckled down and put a plan together to come out of this stronger, because we didn't really see other choices. So there's a couple of things that we did with the pandemic. One was just like, the first thing was try to figure out, all right, well, we got to refund everybody who just booked something, who can't go on their trip anymore. And then we also have to call up every single vendor and just gauge their health like throughout this entire time. So that was kind of like cover your bases first.
Wow. That's a lot of work. And, that's really cool that you guys did that, because, these vendors, I mean, I don't see like Get Your Guide calling them, right? So that, first of all, that's really cool that you guys did that. I believe you spoke to me that like, once it kind of the dust settled after a couple of weeks, you started offering, there was like, obviously some online stuff. You guys kind of had like bookable. I think one of them that you had was like a comedy session online with like a Zoom call with a comedian. What did you have? Do you have any other examples you can share?
Yeah. So we worked with like the Bachelor TV show, and we worked with a couple of these like comedians to host live events. And we actually saw the recaps of some of them, and they were really fun, but we were just trying to do anything we possibly could to offer something. This is like when Zooming with your friends was cool for like a month or two, before it got like really old.
Novelty died
yeah.
very quickly.
So we did, we did some really cool events where we just hosted like a live comedy roast where we actually roasted bachelors. We're 92% bachelorettes, but every once in a while we'll get like some bachelor parties in our app. And
Wait. You're 92% bachelorettes?
yeah,
Was that the same before the pandemic, or is it like the margins has actually increased, or is it remain steady?
so we've always been heavy on the bachelorette side, and
Huh.
it's because, I mean, you could attribute it to a variety of things, but first and foremost, bachelorettes are better at planning. They're more proactive. Right?
That's reality.
Like, guys are too sloppy with their trips. They need us. They're not ready to just like give up yet, but they need us. But bachelorettes, I think they've found a lot of value in this, and also when we bought the IP to this blog that was helping like a bachelorette party planning service when we started Batch, and we ended up like acquiring a small kind of user base from that, and then we ended up just marketing and building the same like off of that hub.
That user base, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's really really cool. It's surprising still though that it's 92%, and that's that's interesting beyond that. And I think you adapted even the experiences as we moved, as the pandemic still remained a reality. I think what you spoke about, like adding a little bit more hikes or like featuring some of the things that are more like COVID friendly to the top of these cities. And I thought that was a really cool strategy. And then you increase the cities to 14, which, and you add all this content. It's your content that you have somebody working on. And so that was really cool. What was the thought process being like, okay, let's just, we had plans to expand, let's expand, just curtail the experiences. And what did you say, guys? Like, let's do this. Like, what was how did that go?
I mean, it went through iterations of communicating with all stakeholders of Batch, investors, advisors, our internal team, to decide, okay, this will end at some point. And when it does, let's make sure we come out on top. So we actually just buckled down and built out our team. We actually doubled the size of our team last year. And half of our team has never seen success until that, like the past couple of weeks, honestly, which is crazy. But we doubled our team. We reinvented our product. We evolved. We came up with a completely new brand identity, and we expanded. We went nuts with building out our marketplace. And there were a couple kind of like foundational things under that, the whole like lean and mean core value of just coming out of this a better business. Like, we increased our margins. We wanted to make sure that we had everything that we could possibly offer, from when you wake up to when you go to bed, for your batch party, in terms of like just this big Rolodex of experiences. And then we've actually been building accommodations too, which I'm really excited about. That's about to launch in a month. But, I think through the whole time period last year, it's just, let's just sharpen the knife and make sure that we have a best-in-class product to come out of this taken over. And right now we're just trying to fulfill that promise.
Yeah, I mean, and that's great that you've been able to survive and that you're ready, because like travel tech is gonna boom in a huge way very very soon. You spoke about numbers going up. What how many parties are we at right now?
We're gaining 3,000 parties a week, so we're incredibly excited.
Wow,
Yeah,
3,000 a week. That's really cool. And I think you shared some of the functionalities that you wanted to add. Like, one of them was lodging. Is this because you're going out and finding actually vendors that are like actually perfectly situated for this type of event, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, so we built supplier integration, or we integrated with a supplier portal that will essentially open us up to a variety of hosts and property managers throughout the country. Okay. So a lot of properties actually got kicked off of Airbnb because they didn't want to host party, like they weren't permitted to be like party houses, and we welcome them with open arms. We're like, come on over here, guys. And the idea for us is that, our value is that we want to bring the party to the house for our user base. Like, regardless of where the pandemic goes the next couple months, we want to be able to offer the best houses. Like, for every house, you need bedrooms, you need a pool, you need a cool hangout spot, and then we want to layer in a private chef, or maybe you want a DJ to come, or like a yoga instructor. So We're just trying to get the party to the house so that we have houses that you can book in the app, all these services that can cater towards the house, and then all sorts of activities outside of that in the neighborhood to where, like, locally where you're staying, that you could go do during the day.
Mm-hmm. That sounds exactly what I would like to be done for me if I went to a bachelor party.
Yeah.
It sounds so easy and like more simplistic and less headachy, less stressful. I'm glad you're solving that pain, man. This is a tougher question. What do you like? I'm glad to see the numbers are doing good and you're doing better. What's the metrics of success for this year?
Sure. So we'd like to hit 50,000 parties a month. So if we can do that, I feel like we could really impact economies and do great for our vendors, do well in terms of revenue and provide, and, it's clear at that point that we're providing a great experience for our users. So if we can do 50,000 a month, Nashville, this is a crazy number, but they're about 20% of our total US market share right now. That would be like about 10,000 parties a month going to Nashville. So on any given weekend, you have 2,500 bachelorette parties in the city.
Yes. So what you're saying is you're going to probably get a trophy from the city of Nashville. And
that'd be nice. We're working with tourism boards to say, hey guys, we're going to bring thousands of people to you this year, tens of thousands. And I think the interesting thing is that we want to impact these vendors, and then it would be cool to impact economies, in up and coming cities as well. Like Scottsdale has been really popular lately. It's our number 2 city right now. And then Savannah, Georgia, they have an open container policy, and Georgia is like, we do not endorse this, but they are loose on their COVID laws. I went down on a road trip with my dad through Savannah, and it was like the Wild West. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. Like, so there's these crazy dynamics happening in our marketplace cities. And, I think the goal for us is to impact all these vendors' businesses, but also eventually other economies as well, such as like take Atlantic City, for example. Like, you could if you're sending that amount of demand on any given weekend to a place, they have casinos, we could build up mom and pop businesses around these casinos. It's on a beach. Like, there's a lot of potential to impact other cities as well.
Yeah, it's really cool. That's it's nice to hear that some entrepreneurs out there are really trying to help the people that actually have been suffering the most right now in the pandemic in terms of like businesses and whatnot. And like travel and tourism is really right up there. Cool, man. Well, that's it sounds like it's going to be a really interesting year.
We're excited.
Good. We talked about your path, like, through entrepreneurship. You have your ups and downs. Any advice or like big accomplishments that you could share and that you think people could learn from?
I mean, accomplishments, we're on our way. This is just the beginning for Batch, and I'm incredibly excited about that. And then I think in terms of learnings, I spent my 20s building startups, living in New York City, making it month to month kind of thing, very scrappy. I think that when you get in to pursue an opportunity, you have to treat it as if you're an investor yourself. Like, think about the market opportunity, like make sure you understand the business model, and like before getting involved, and kind of like you just need to do your diligence and take your time being thoughtful about the ventures that you pursue. And then when you do go at them in full force, hold nothing back.
Good sound advice. We're going to take a little step here. It's a question that kind of doesn't feel much with the rest we've been discussing lately, but it's important for me because I like it. It's something like I like doing. But you've really started enjoying surfing a lot ever since that accident. I wanted to touch a little bit on that. What does surfing do for you, and why do you think you've been so like attached to that as an activity, like for mic time?
Well, it strengthens my neck, which is great. And then, aside from that, living in New York,
your entire body, man. It strengthens you pretty much your entire body. You're
great.
Swimming.
It keeps you sane. So living in New York, you're constantly just like fast-paced environment, and there's a lack of outdoors. So it was great to be able to get to Rockaway or to Long Beach easily, or to North Jersey. it was great. Like the relationships that you establish with your friends, like when you're getting up at 5 a.m. is amazing. And then the business lessons involved in surfing are really cool too. I say this, I love surfing. I've been doing it my whole life, like since I was a kid. I'm not that great compared to how much I love it. I'm an average surfer, but I surf some cool places, and what I can say is that I think it just translates well to entrepreneurship. When you're trying to paddle into a wave, you got to go all in. You got to wait for the right sets to come in and have patience. And when you see an opportunity come, go hard. And I think some of those experiences that I've had translate really well, have taught me patience, but have also kind of given me a sense of like being calm when evaluating like the life of a startup and things like that.
Yeah. I've had a really good like an incredible surfing experience, and I've also had one where I almost shit my pants, and that's when I wiped out on a wave. So, but the real good one for me was I was living in South Africa, and I just like I broken up with my partner virtually, and back in Montreal, and I was feeling crap, and my boss's husband partner who surfs a lot, he was like, man, just come with me surfing. And I went, and it was sunsetting, and I felt amazing
Yeah.
afterwards. Do you feel like it's like a stress reliever as well in a way?
100%.
Yeah.
Anytime you can get out there is the best, but it's just tricky on the East Coast because you've got to battle like, are the winds right? Is there a swell coming? Can I afford to dedicate this time to go? Especially when it's winter and you're in the Northeast and you're wearing like 7 millimeters of stuff. Like, yeah.
Yeah, you have to be. I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, Surfer Dan. He's incredible. He's out in Michigan, or Lake Michigan
Oh,
rather.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, he's got like icicles on his beard, and he just like he goes right in because the waves on the Great Lakes are really high in the winter, and he's insane. That's pretty much my point here.
Yeah.
But that's cool. Right now you're growing your team. You mentioned it earlier. How has that adjustment been? It's always cool in that, startups, at our startup, for example, we have an achievement channel. Every time we have a new partnership or the dev team has really accomplished something, we throw it in an achievement channel on Slack, and everybody's like, yeah, there's all these like emojis and stuff. How's the adjustment been to growing the team and adding these members in some of the, like, in a phase where you're starting really low, but you only have, the moon to achieve, I suppose.
It's amazing. I mean, I love our team. It's something that we've taken seriously since day one, was that it's not about the idea. It's not about the market opportunity. It's about the people that are behind this thing. And I think that we can take this team and replicate it to build a $1 billion business in a variety of different industries at this point. I think that it's been really important to establish great leadership from day one, especially as an early stage company, for being how like analytical we are. And we're very like well operationalized, and we have OKRs and KPIs and all the sorts of metrics to track at a pretty early stage. But I think that we just have a bunch of badasses that I'm thankful for personally, because it's just enabled me to go out and do my job, which is just make sure that we have the resources that the company needs to be successful, and then just put parameters and goals in place to determine our success over time.
That's cool. Yeah, that's great. That's a great answer. Once the impact is completely over, let's say let's say tomorrow the entire North America is completely vaccine. There's no more effects of this. What do you like? What's the next step for BACH? Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's just, as I said, there's three approaches. There's one, let's make the business successful, hit the revenue goals that we have in place. Yeah. Two is let's provide a great experience for our customers. That's the most important at this stage. Mm-hmm. And through the product that we've built, great customer service, and just making sure that we have the marketplace coverage, everything they could possibly want to do. And then three is let's help the vendors. They've struggled the past year. Let's drive cash back into these businesses months ahead of when, these people are actually going on their party, so we can help them out too. So I think those are the three most important things at this stage to have a successful year.
That's yay is all I have to say to that. We're almost at the end of the show, unfortunately. But this is a question I ask almost every guest. I failed to do it once because we really went past due time. But if you were in my shoes as a podcast host in the travel and experiences world, who would you invite as the next guest?
I thought about this. I have I don't have that many friends in travel. I have a lot of founder friends. I would recommend getting in touch with my buddy Steve from Bbot because he built a cool company around if you're going to order something with your phone, like at a restaurant right now, he
Yeah.
built the technology that enables that. And
Okay.
so he
Cool.
had a really explosive year last year. And he was
Yeah.
trying to get out, trying to convince restaurants to do this for like 3 years. And then last year, he went nuts.
His phone
Yeah.
blew up.
So
That's cool.
really cool.
That's really cool. And he gets to help the people who need the most right now, right? The
Right.
restaurants that can't have clients to come in and sit down, and now he helps them get their orders out in a more efficient way. That's cool. Yeah, well, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you so much. My last question is if people want to, either vendors or people who want to sort of integrate other aspects to your solution, to your app, what's the best way they can reach you?
So you got general inquiries, you got info at the batch, Cowboy Greg, you have Greg at thebatch.com. Get in touch with me, you have Mike at thebatch.com. But
Okay.
we have, again, a wonderful team. There's a lot of there's people that run, various like departments or divisions of this company. So I think you do your research and just know that it's at thebatch.com. It's easy to get in touch with us.
Cool. And the surfers, where can they find you right now?
I'm just waiting to figure out where to go next, but I'm hoping I can get into Costa Rica trip.
All right, cool. Costa Rica it is, man. Uh, Mike, thank you so much for coming. I love your story. Told you this many times before. I think you really embody a really cool entrepreneurial spirit. I'm really excited for you guys, and I really love the team you assembled. I've seen some of the stuff that they've been working on already through social media. This is going to be a great year for you guys. So thank you so much for coming on the pod, and we'll have to follow your journey closely.
Thank you for having me, Philippe. This was great. Appreciate the time.
All right, bye.